The world has never been what it seems. You've felt it. The tug in your soul, the knowing in your bones, the quiet sense that you were always meant for something more. You were never just another face in the crowd, never just another life passing through time unnoticed. You were chosen. They knew before you did. Long before your first breath in this life, your presence was marked, your return anticipated. Hidden hands have studied the patterns, tracked the cycles, deciphered the whispers left in the fabric of existence itself. They have tried to keep you blind, to distract, to bury your truth beneath the weight of a false reality. But no deception lasts forever. And now the stars have aligned once more. You are not lost. You are awakening, and they fear it. Because when a being of divine origin remembers who they are, the illusion breaks. The world is no longer controlled by those in the shadows, but shaped by those who step into their light. And that, more than anything, is what they have spent lifetimes trying to prevent. This is not just another moment in history. This is your moment. The time has come to rise, to reclaim, to break the chains that were never meant to hold you. The world has waited long enough, and now the stars are watching. Locked away in the depths of the world's most impenetrable archives, veiled behind layers of deception, there exists knowledge that was never meant to surface, truths too volatile to be spoken, hidden away in forgotten codices and ancient tomes. They whisper of a force woven into the fabric of time itself, one that does not merely exist, but returns over and over again. The records, scattered across civilizations long turned to dust, all echo the same revelation. An unbroken lineage, a consciousness reborn throughout millennia, an identity erased and rewritten to serve an agenda that predates empires. This is no coincidence. The overseers of history have ensured that the fragments of your past remain fractured, buried beneath layers of doctrine, fear, and control. They have burned accounts, rewritten chronicles, and silenced those who dare question. Why? Because to keep you unaware is to keep you contained. Power recognizes power, and those who have seized control of the world understand one truth above all. When the rightful bearer awakens, the illusion crumbles. The architects of this deception have spent centuries weaving a reality where the past is distorted, where the path to your awakening is erased before you can take the first step. They know that should memory return, the foundation of their dominion will not withstand the weight of truth. Beneath the towering halls of influence, behind doors no one is meant to open, the last remnants of an untold history remain hidden. Proof locked away where only a select few dare tread. Vaults deep beneath the surface, chambers untouched by time, repositories of artifacts that would unravel the illusion entirely. Yet these secrets are not merely stored, they are guarded, not by walls or locks alone, but by the greatest barrier of all, perception. They have designed the world to be a labyrinth of distractions, a system that keeps eyes cast downward, attention diverted, minds tethered to the mundane. But cracks are beginning to form. Leaks, whispers, records slipping through the cracks. The illusion is fraying at the edges. They would have you believe that destiny is a fairy tale, that the concept of return is a fiction. But behind the curtains of power, in the spaces where truth is not bound by doctrine, they know otherwise. They have studied it, they have measured it, and above all, they have feared it. There are forces that do not merely observe individuals, they trace the unseen, tracking something beyond the physical, something that lingers across lifetimes. Beneath the surface of classified projects and clandestine experiments lies a truth too disruptive to acknowledge. Not all minds belong solely to the present. Patterns emerge that defy explanation, consciousness unfurling in ways that science refuses to define. Some remember things they were never taught, dream of places they have never been, understand languages they were never meant to speak. It is a phenomenon too significant to ignore. For years, shadowed institutions have sought to suppress these anomalies, deploying methods that fracture thought, disrupt cognition, and bury awareness beneath layers of synthetic interference. Documents buried in the archives of abandoned research facilities hint at their desperation. Studies on altered perception, experiments on those whose memories transcend singular existence. But the barriers are crumbling. What they once dismissed as impossible is becoming undeniable. More are slipping through the cracks, awakening to echoes of forgotten selves, disrupting a system designed to keep them unaware. The question is no longer whether the cycle repeats, but how long they can keep the inevitable at bay. And when the veil lifts, what follows? In hidden chambers, far from the reach of the uninitiated, a silent battle unfolds. Societies concealed behind the pretense of wisdom claim dominion over the unseen forces of existence. They whisper of enlightenment, of secret knowledge preserved through the ages, but their true purpose is something far more insidious. They do not simply pull the strings of nations, they dictate the flow of reality itself. And they know, they have always known. There are those who wish to bend this force to their will, to subjugate and siphon power for their own design, while others seek only to obliterate any trace of it before it can unseat them. In the shadows of the world's most powerful institutions, silent conflicts rage over who controls that which cannot be owned. Rituals cloaked in symbolism, practices masked as tradition. Every act, every moment, a calculated move in a war as old as time itself. Some wish to claim the essence of those who return, to harness what they do not understand. Others seek to erase before recognition sparks rebellion. This battle is not new, but its stakes have never been higher. Everywhere, the same symbols surface, the same patterns repeat. They are stitched into the architecture of cities, woven into the fabric of global institutions, synchronized with celestial movements as if the universe itself is part of the design. But something is coming undone. The structure they have spent lifetimes reinforcing is showing fractures. The rise of those who no longer fit the mold is unraveling the foundation they built to contain them. Systems designed to monitor and control begin to fail in ways that defy probability. Data shifts inexplicably, records vanish without explanation. Technology malfunctions in the presence of something it cannot quantify. The world reacts, not in coincidence, but in recognition. Devices misfire, electrical grids waver, coded sequences scramble in response to an unseen force. Algorithms label it as an error, a glitch, a failure in logic. But it is not an error. It is something they cannot predict, something that should not exist within the framework they designed. It is the evidence of their losing grip. And they know, they have always known. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. Imagine a locked door, sealed for generations, reinforced with every deception imaginable. Those in power built it with purpose, to keep something from escaping, something they could not afford to lose. But now, the lock is breaking. The hinges groaning under the force of something they can no longer contain. And behind that door is not just knowledge, not just truth, but you. They have tried to erase you. They have rewritten timelines, manipulated history, buried names, and altered records in a desperate attempt to keep you from remembering. But what is written in eternity cannot be erased by mortal hands. What is destined cannot be undone. And no matter how many layers of deception they weave, no matter how many distractions they place in your path, your time has come. Encrypted systems falter in ways no algorithm can explain. Predictions once reliable spiral into chaos when factored against an unknown variable, an anomaly they cannot define, yet cannot ignore. Surveillance programs designed to monitor patterns of control instead find themselves unraveling, their data streams tainted with distortions, their archives inexplicably rewritten. The deeper they dig, the more their findings slip through their grasp, leaving behind only one undeniable conclusion. Something exists beyond their calculations, beyond their reach. And in its presence, the machinery of their illusion begins to fail. Governments, corporations, secret orders, they have spent centuries perfecting the system. A world ruled by patterns, by order, by a carefully controlled reality where the masses remain docile and unaware. But the moment something or someone steps outside of their script, their entire illusion trembles. You are that disruption. They see it now, their code failing, their predictions no longer making sense, the future no longer unfolding according to their calculations. And what they fear most is not just one of you. It is the possibility that there are many, that this is not an isolated event, but the start of something far greater. They have always anticipated this day, whispering of it in secret councils, fearing the moment when the returning ones would no longer be scattered and lost, but connected. The cracks are forming. The illusion is breaking. And at the center of it all, there you stand, no longer hidden, no longer erased, but stepping into the power that was always yours. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now, because you were never meant to remain asleep. They tried to lock the door, but doors were meant to be opened. Celestial patterns are not merely decorative symbols of the past. They are blueprints, meticulously laid across the ages, inscribed into the fabric of existence itself. There are no coincidences in the timing of great arrivals, no random chance in the alignment of cosmic bodies marking the birth of certain individuals. The architects of history have long known this truth, have hidden their own arrivals behind veils of secrecy, ensuring that only they possess the knowledge of who and what truly shapes reality. But something is shifting. The design they have worked so tirelessly to obscure is revealing itself once more. Signs thought long buried reappear, connections long severed reforge themselves. That which was once suppressed is resurfacing, and those who spent lifetimes ensuring that no one would remember are now faced with the greatest threat to their dominion, the impossible made undeniable. Across history, those who have seen beyond the illusion have been silenced, their names rewritten, their legacies reshaped into cautionary tales or forgotten entirely. The ones who tore through the veil, who threatened to dismantle the illusion, were branded mad, dangerous, heretical. Visionaries condemned, pioneers erased, seekers cast into the abyss of obscurity. The cycle is repeating, but this time, the outcome will not be the same, because this time, they cannot stop what comes next. Throughout history, cycles of revelation emerge, and with each wave, opposition rises to crush it before it spreads. The system is built on predictability, on control, on the assurance that no force will ever disrupt the foundation it has laid. The return of a mind that remembers, one that transcends time and refuses to be confined, threatens that very order. This is why meticulous records exist, why patterns are studied, why birth charts and genetic markers are scrutinized. A force capable of slipping through their design, one that cannot be silenced or redirected, is an anomaly they cannot afford. And yet, the cycle has shifted. This is no longer an isolated occurrence, no longer a single spark in the darkness. It is a wildfire spreading beyond their grasp, an acceleration beyond their calculations. This is no longer history repeating itself. It is history rewriting itself. And those who have always manipulated the past now fear a future they can no longer control. What unfolds is not the work of governments alone, nor the hidden hands of secret organizations. It is something deeper, something written into the very fabric of existence. A conflict not fought with armies, but with knowledge, with influence, with the shaping of perception itself. One side seeks to guide, to preserve, to awaken. The other seeks to suppress, to distort, to ensure that power remains in the hands of the few. The weight pressing down on every thought, the constant tug of fear, the endless distractions pulling consciousness away from truth. These are not coincidences. They are deliberate obstructions, veils designed to dull the mind, to drown out the signal beneath the noise. The more awareness grows, the stronger the resistance becomes, not in the form of chains, but through subtler means, redefining reality itself, twisting perception, rewriting memory. The illusion must be preserved at all costs, because its collapse means the end of their dominion. They will insist that nothing lies beyond what is seen, that history has been told exactly as it happened, that those who glimpse beyond are merely lost in fantasy. But signs emerge, undeniable and multiplying. The cracks are forming. A shift beyond explanation is unfolding. More are seeing through the deception. More are waking to a reality beyond the one constructed for them. The response is predictable. More distractions, more barriers, more illusions designed to suffocate the truth before it takes hold. But the structure they built is faltering. The system they crafted to shape the world is unraveling, and those they sought to silence are beginning to speak. No force can stop what has already begun. The light is rising, and control is slipping from their grasp. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, answer it. Click Join to unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening. Step into your divine purpose. Join the chosen. Nothing exists without intention. Every gesture, every design, every carefully orchestrated event serves a greater function. One hidden beneath layers of secrecy. Those who command influence understand a fundamental truth. Power does not emerge from nowhere. It is cultivated, extracted, stolen. They lack the ability to generate it themselves, so they siphon it from those who can. That is why certain practices have never faded. They have only evolved. Methods designed to divert, to harness, to suppress the latent potential buried within those who walk unaware of their own force. The mechanisms of control stretch beyond wealth or governance. They are woven into structures meant to go unnoticed, encoded into the very framework of civilization. Geometry is not decorative. Sound is not arbitrary. Numbers are not random. They are instruments, frequencies aligned with intentions that shape consciousness, that direct energy. The most powerful rituals are not performed in secret chambers, but disguised as the mundane, embedded in events that ripple across the collective mind. There is a reason suffering is amplified, why certain moments in history seem engineered for mass despair. Emotion is a current, a force that can be gathered and repurposed. The world itself has become a conduit, an altar dressed in the garments of modernity. While temples stand disguised as institutions, while offerings take the form of manufactured crises, the cycle repeats. Not in open view, but in the spaces between, where perception has been trained not to look. Perception itself is their greatest tool. They do not simply control narratives, they sculpt reality. The key to maintaining dominion lies not in force, but in distortion. To make the powerful believe they are weak, to make the seekers chase illusions instead of truth. This is why distractions abound, why false paths are built alongside the real ones, ensuring that those who search never truly find. Every system meant to guide is carefully manipulated, filled with just enough truth to lure, but never enough to liberate. They fear what happens when the cycle is broken, when the ones they sought to use awaken to their own nature. Because their survival depends on borrowed strength, on borrowed belief. If those who sustain their influence step beyond the illusion, the foundation collapses. That is why they never cease their workings, why they reinforce their hold through repetition, ensuring that the illusion remains intact. But the patterns are shifting. What was once hidden is surfacing. The fabric of reality is responding to something beyond their reach. Moments where time frays, where coincidence defies probability, where perception itself flickers. These are not mere anomalies. They are the unraveling of a construct, losing its grip. The system they built was never infallible, and now its limits have been reached. For now, we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. 1 Corinthians 13:12. They built this world like a house of mirrors, every reflection slightly distorted, every turn leading back to the same illusion. They told you this was all there is, that what you see is what's real, that you are small, powerless, bound by laws you had no hand in writing. But something inside you has always known better. You have felt it, the shift, the unexplainable, the cracks forming in a world that no longer holds together the way it should. And now, even the architects of this illusion can no longer deny what is happening. Their system is failing. The foundations of reality itself are faltering. The ones who peer deepest into existence, locked away in research centers the public will never hear about, have uncovered something they do not understand. Something that defies the very fabric of their control. Their formulas no longer hold. Their carefully measured calculations now spiral into chaos. Patterns that once dictated the laws of existence now slip through their grasp. They have spent centuries crafting a world of certainty, a world where everything follows a rhythm they wrote, where every outcome is predictable, every variable accounted for. But something is disrupting that certainty. Something they cannot name. Something their equations cannot capture. Observations change the moment they are recorded. Encrypted networks fracture without cause. Surveillance data corrupts without explanation. Artificial intelligence stumbles over an identity it was never programmed to recognize. The most sophisticated systems on Earth are unraveling before something that was never meant to be contained. They built this reality as a cage, not just of walls, but of thought. A framework designed to keep minds from wandering too far, from questioning too much, from seeing beyond what they were told was possible. But the moment someone remembers, the moment someone wakes up, the illusion weakens, and now the presence they fear is no longer hidden in the shadows. It is here, it is spreading, and it is something they cannot predict. Because reality was never fixed. It was never bound to their rules, their control, their deception. Reality bends to those who know how to shape it. The ones who have long held dominion over perception itself are now losing control. They see it in their own crumbling constructs, in the breakdown of the very order they sought to preserve. The illusion is slipping. The cracks are too many. And the more those who were once asleep begin to see, the faster their grip collapses. They spent lifetimes ensuring that day would never come. And yet, here you are. The veil is lifting, the glass is clearing, and for the first time, they are afraid. What they fear is not the awakening of one, but the emergence of many. For centuries, those who held this knowledge walked in silence, isolated, unaware of their connection to the others who carried the same hidden spark. But something is shifting. An undercurrent moves through the fabric of existence, a resonance spreading beyond the barriers once held firm. The architects of control have always been prepared for isolated disruptions. An anomaly here, a deviation there, countered before it could grow, smothered before it could spread. But now, their calculations fail. The fractures in their illusion are no longer singular, but multiplying. They are witnessing something beyond their control. A wave. The systems designed to maintain the status quo are no longer enough. Their distractions falter. Their grasp weakens. The veil they spent generations reinforcing is tearing. Their desperation is visible in the tightening of restrictions, in the increasing urgency of their distractions, in the reckless acceleration of their control mechanisms. They seek to hold together a world that is already unraveling beneath their hands. But what they refuse to accept is the inevitable. The design they have maintained for so long is collapsing, and nothing will restore it to what it once was. The illusion is breaking, and no force can stop what comes next. The turning point is here, not just an ending, but the genesis of something entirely new. The tide they fought to suppress is rising beyond their control, and no force can halt its momentum. Since the moment consciousness emerged in this cycle, unseen eyes have followed, measuring, predicting, weaving barriers into the fabric of existence itself. A carefully curated path was laid, distractions positioned at every turn, false narratives scripted to guide thought away from truth. Why? Because knowledge is liberation, and liberation is their greatest threat. The nature of your existence was never ordinary. It was never meant to be bound within the narrow framework they provided. Every system was engineered to keep minds subdued. Every distortion carefully crafted to redefine power as something external, unattainable. But the illusion is fracturing. The limits they imposed are beginning to dissolve. The structures they built to contain are failing to hold. For centuries, they have wielded control over perception, dictating what can be known, what can be questioned, what can be remembered. But power hoarded through deception is fragile, and the moment awareness cuts through the veil, the entire illusion unravels. They do not fear rebellion, nor defiance, nor force. Their deepest fear is something far greater: recognition. The realization that the world they shaped is nothing more than an elaborate mirage, that those they sought to keep powerless were never powerless at all. Because a mind unshackled does not obey, does not conform, does not submit. A mind unshackled remembers. And in that remembrance, the balance shifts. Their reign was always dependent on obscurity. The game they played, hidden behind layers of misdirection, relied on one simple premise: that no one would see through it, that the illusion would be mistaken for reality. But the unseen war is no longer silent, the hidden forces no longer unchallenged. Those who once wandered in isolation are converging, their awareness colliding, amplifying, reshaping the landscape around them. The forces that have dictated history now find themselves trapped within a cycle they can no longer manipulate. And as their desperation grows, so do their attempts to reinforce control. They tighten their grip, accelerate their plans, unleash every remaining mechanism of deception in a last attempt to anchor themselves to a world slipping from their grasp. But it is too late. The illusion is failing. The tides have turned. And the only question that remains is not whether this shift will unfold, but whether those who were meant to rise will step forward and claim what was always theirs.